You don't need to see my face.
Okay, lovely. Here we go. So, as mentioned, we're going to be talking about, yes, the future of careers and thinking about how schools and careers advisors are adapting and needing to adapt to everything that's been happening and changing over recent weeks and months. Just a quick note about housekeeping. Please do keep your microphones on mute unless you've got something that you'd like to share with the group, just to prevent any feedback. We will be sharing and recording the session, so just as a bit of a disclaimer, and we will record this and share it afterwards for anyone that's not able to attend. Okay, so I will kick us off then and just talk through the agenda very quickly. So the first item on the agenda today is going to be all about deferrals. So we know that lots of students are thinking about deferring their offer this year, and sort of the pros and cons with students doing that and not doing that. And Beth is going to take us through that. Then we're going to hear from Rhoda from STEM Learning, who's going to tell us about how STEM ambassadors can support your school, and also a bit of a CPD offer for teachers. And then finally, we'll be doing a bit of a rundown of activity that we have planned over the next few months for schools and your students. So that is a bit of an introduction. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to through the deferral situation. Over to you, Beth.
Great, thanks, Michelle. Morning, everyone. Particular good morning to Grace, Lisa, and John, who I've been speaking with recently. I hope you're all very well. Great. I also noticed that the chat is actually disabled on this meeting, Michelle. So I'm not sure if while I'm talking you could
on it.
Could you also just go back a slide quickly? Because you just jumped. Lovely. Okay. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. So I'm going to be talking about deferrals this morning. It's something that's frequently cropped up in our conversations with teachers and advisors across London, and we thought it best to really discuss it here today as a collective and get your thoughts on it, but also, I guess, inform a bit more about the current situation. So to defer or not to defer, I was really tempted to put that headline because, really the current situation of UK higher education is heavily reliant on, firstly, tuition fees, as you can see on the kind of graph on the left there, but also international students on the graph on the right, particularly students from China, but also the EU as well. And this has made UK universities particularly, one, reliant on tuition fees to fund themselves, but also on an overseas student market. And in a global pandemic, when everybody is sort of not allowed to travel and thinking about deferring, this has made the UK higher education system particularly vulnerable. Yes, if you pop to the next slide. So what about applications this year? Well, international students, around 80% of them have indicated that they would like to study in their native countries because of the pandemic other than the UK. So 80% of international students will be arriving less now. The dependence of UK institutions has left them vulnerable. The government has bailed them out, but these finances are dependent on domestic students going ahead with their places in September as usual. So the government's given universities £2 billion, and that's to really keep them afloat over the summer period. But it's entirely reliant that students will be returning in September. So will students be returning in September? London Economics had a new youth study that came out just in late May, and it revealed that even if universities will be operating as usual, only 86% would be likely to attend. If things are not normal, if social distancing measures are in place, then that dropped to 72%. So in other words, the likelihood of deferral among UK domiciled students was approximately 17% higher as a result of the pandemic. Now, I'm sure many of you listening here will have spoken to concerned sixth formers, or if you're a university, you're hoping for some certainty over those student numbers. I think in all aspects of life at the moment, we all want certainty. And that's why meetings like this and communicating are really important. So I'll quickly cover the pros and cons of deferral and what you really need to be making students aware of at this time. Next slide, please, Michelle. I'm sure also we're all aware of what deferring is, which is pushing your admissions to university back for 1 year to take a break from your academic studies. But this year, a new emphasis and a cause for concern has been placed on the decision, as students are facing a new challenge to an already huge decision of their lives. Right, so what's good about deferrals? You can recharge and avoid burnout from being in the education system since you're about 5 years old. So it's a time for students to really reflect and recuperate. You can earn money, so obviously getting a part-time job or a full-time job, and this also helps you develop the skills and independence ahead of starting university, which is a very independent endeavour to take, even if you are living at home. And as I mentioned, you can take time to reconsider study options without pressures of exams or school deadlines or kind of school pressures as well. But it's important to kind of be sure about the terms and conditions of deferrals. So it's really important as well to communicate that not all courses offer deferred entry. Students will need to really check the course webpage and contact the admissions team of the department if they're unsure whether their course offers deferred entry. But also be sure about the course that they are deferring. They won't be able to change this course once deferral is accepted. Only when they begin their course could they think about changing one. If they wanted to be released, then the provider needs to give permission for that, and then they will need to reapply in the UCAS process over again. So it's a big decision, but it can be a really good and beneficial one. Personally, I did defer. Well, I didn't actually apply in my last year. I applied in my year out, which was, I thought, really useful for me, but that's just personal. Next slide, Michelle. So what are the challenges about them? So taking a break from your studies to recharge, avoid burnout, does actually make it harder to get back into it and to get back into that learning and education environment when you've been away from it for a year. And of course, you might not even go back at all. Being out of education for a year, you might, I don't know, loads of things in life can happen, can't they? Which can make you revert your decision to go to university. But also particular groups are at risk sometimes if they defer. Groups such as people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds or from that meet particular eligibility criteria for scholarships or bursaries at universities. Lots of these have a no defer clause attached to them. And so if a student from these particular groups decided to defer, they could lose out on that opportunity and therefore might not have the incentive or opportunity to go to university at all. But also, as I mentioned, it's a big decision to consider and lots of concerns. So I'd be really interested to find out whether what the reasons students are thinking about deferring. Is it just the immediate causes of the pandemic and kind of all of these rushes, or is it more personal, and is it about their personal development, or do they want to get some work experience? I think it's important for careers advisors and teachers to actually really gauge whether they've really thought about this deferral process and what they're going to be getting out of it. Next slide, Michelle. I just wanted to talk about right now, really, and deferrals in a pandemic and the normal student experience. this is the bit I really wanted to get people engaging and discussing on, because it's not like you can go travelling now when you defer. You can get a job, but given the economic market, I don't know if many people will be applying or supplying jobs, sorry, and let alone kind of to people without that job experience. So I think, and I've been speaking with careers advisors this week about it, is there is a serious risk of young people becoming neat because of this, because of the ideas to defer. And even if students do get a job, they might be just getting good at it before they go to university. So also other careers advisors have mentioned that students that are now quite unsure are thinking about studying an apprenticeship. And again, I go back to the same argument of the market. I don't think the market is confident to be putting up apprenticeships at the moment. So those will be limited in the years to come, we reckon. Understandably, the pandemic has left students feeling worried that starting university in September will also disrupt the normal student experience. We know university is about much more than education. Many of us who have been to university will remember the experiences far more vividly than the lectures, I'm sure. And students are a funny bunch, aren't they? They're not quite adults, they're not quite kids. They're sort of opening up and learning about the world, trying on different personas. It's really important, the social side, and universities understand that. The social side is a top priority for incoming students. And at the moment, they're really trying to find fresh ways for university to appeal in case social distancing restrictions are still in place. But what I really want to ask is, what even is a normal student experience now? One of the main reasons young people are reserved about attending university this year is the fear of losing out on in-person lectures and Freshers' Week celebrations. But the risk of deferring to have the normal student experience relies on the normal student experience returning. Of course, when previous generations went to university in previous years, this is what they experienced. And it's these exact people that prospective students are getting their higher education impressions from. So we cannot understand the impact, underestimate the impact of COVID-19 on the way we live our lives, and in particular also the way that we learn. Young people are highly adaptable, and they live a sizable part of their lives online anyway. What seems dystopian and alarming to some people might not necessarily strike them in the same way. I use the example of dating apps to hammer that point home. And don't forget, universities have had no trouble in moving online, really. Lectures have been recorded for students for years. Who knows? This change might even bring into question the extraordinary fees young people are paying to get a login to Zoom 5 times a week. Of course, this thinking can't be said for all courses as well. Practical subjects, ones requiring studying abroad or field research, will need to be reviewed. I'm not sure how a new medical student expects to walk into a hospital in their 3rd week of university to do shadowing, let alone if they'd even want to. But it's much more constructive for students in universities to reinvent the student experience and come up with something different, initially odd, but ultimately as enjoyable, that will in time become the new norm. So really what I wanted to stress here is that the normal student experience, I don't think really exists anymore. I don't think we will be returning to something like that. So I think this idea of deferring because it won't be normal this year is quite reductive and actually quite dangerous as well. I also wanted to, Taylor, who's not here this morning, brought up a really good point about London, and actually it's in quite a good place to be a trailblazer of this in terms of higher education. It's a city, it's obviously a city, its universities are city universities largely, and so a lot of it is quite independent study and quite digitised learning. This sort of new transition could serve London universities very, very well indeed. So, I mean, I guess that's my perspective on deferrals and what's happening this year. But I'd be really keen for people to unmute themselves and just talk about some of the challenges they're facing from students at the moment, and what their perspective really is on deferrals and whether it's a good idea or a bad idea this year. So I'll stop there and just take a pause, have a think about it, and please unmute yourself and contribute to the discussion. Thanks.
Hi, I had said a couple of days ago, Beth, that I'd surveyed our Year 13s to see if there were anyone who would change their mind and is now deciding to defer. I haven't checked the responses. Not one of them said they'll be deferring. They're all still intending to go. So I was quite surprised at that, to be honest. I thought there would be a few, but they still seem to be going ahead. Any of the concerns they do have seem to be what their grades are going to be. So no one's really worried about it, which was quite surprising.
Yeah, that's really encouraging. Thanks, John. Has anyone else been hearing from students similar things?
I was going to say from my school, hi, I'm Dion, and I work at one of the Ealing schools. Most of my students, again, they're keen to go. I think they're more worried about the setup, accommodation, how things are going to work. But in terms of actually applying, they are looking forward to going to university. And I mean, when I've delivered sessions on higher education, this always comes up. Do they take a gap year out or do they continue education? And what I've done in the past, I've shown them both options. So when they are making the choice, I always kind of suggest they look at both options before they actually go for the gap year, because some think, okay, I'll take a year out, and actually they end up, from my experience, they don't end up doing anything. Or they get stuck in a job, and then, like you discussed previous slides, life happens and they never go back. So I always give them the consideration of, you know, if you're going to take a gap year, make it valuable, or make it relevant to what you want to do. That way, even if you don't decide, you're still in that industry. So yeah.
Thank you, Dion. That's really, really useful. I think that's, you know, brilliant about thinking about the value of a year out and the value of what you even do in life, you know, in all stages of it. I was reading the other day about when students arrive at university, some universities are thinking about limiting student bubbles and kind of putting students that study the same courses all in the same flat together so they can all go to lectures and things like that. I see the University of West London's on the call. I'm not sure if we have any other universities, but I just wanted to ask the universities present if they know what current plans are, if social distancing measures will be in place.
Hi, I'm Krishna from the University of West London. If I'm completely honest, I think it's still up in the air. We're looking towards kind of clearing at the moment, and the university, like many other institutions, have said, you know, we will be looking at having our learning online, but depending on the type of courses students are enrolled on or attending, like we have a lot of music-based courses, we have medical courses, so they require lab work, they require small group working. So I think as our teaching has just finished, dissertations have been submitted and showcases are happening at the moment, the university is now using the time to really work out the nuts and bolts of it. I know that I'm involved in an organisation called Helloa, which my role allows me to support other people at HEIs, and a lot of them are looking at similar things, particularly in London. I know that Imperial College are looking at having some small group interactions depending on the type of courses they have. Others, I think, are just working it out as soon as the guidance gets updated, but I think there will be a push for online learning, and lots of unis are investing in the online learning platforms a lot more, because I think it's just been something that wasn't considered as much previously. And a type of institution like UWL, we're all about the in-person experience, which for me is what education's about. So young people have got a really hard choice to make, because there's a real assumption about what university life is like. So it is, you know, fun party type situation, but actually a lot of our students are local. They still live at home, they come just for the learning, stay in the library and then head home again. So actually that dynamic will change for so many students. But I know that's really hard when you're working with a huge amount of students that want answers, and it is difficult. But I think it will also be difficult for year 12, the current year 12s and 13s next year, and also the year 11s. So I kind of don't have an answer, but I do really feel for you and your students. But my main worry is, what are the students going to do if they defer their places? Are there enough alternative offers and stuff that they can get engaged in? I'd recommend careers advisors looking at January starts for some of their students, so it's not deferring for a huge amount of time. It is just kind of gathering it together. Some of your students will maintain that they do want to go into university in September, October. So yeah, let me know if we can do anything to help. But particularly with the Ealing Careers Advisors, we'll send you the details about online learning and in-person learning kind of as soon as we get them. But I think the uni's just still working a lot of it out.
Thanks, Krishna. That's really supportive, and I think, you know, you're right about January starts. I think that's a really good point to raise. But also the in-person experience of university, we all know is very, very important. So I wonder, you mentioned that a lot of your students are local. Are you expecting more of them to be local? Or are you expecting, this is also for careers advisors, are you expecting your current students to not sort of live in halls when they go to university and look more locally?
I'd say from UWL's perspective, we really don't know. And I think that's the only answer I can give. We have lots of commuter students as well. So we have some students that travel kind of, you know, hour and a half to 2 hours in on public transport, and they've got some important decisions to make if they do need to come onto campus. Like, a lot of our students can do some distance learning, but when it comes down to some of the more practical courses, I think the students will have some interesting decisions to make. And equally, the university will have to come up with some great alternative offers and adjustments to really support those students.
Okay, thanks. And finally, Lisa, you mentioned in the chat, similarly to John, about receiving exam grades and possibly deferring because their exam grades will be predicted. I wondered if you could just develop that a bit more. What did you mean by sort of the intention to defer because of those exams?
This, like, sort of prior to lockdown, a lot of students were just talking about, we're just really anxious, and we're just saying that, you know, if based on their, because they were banking on their doing their exams to get that final grade, because they knew they hadn't kind of really done that well in their mocks, etc., or hadn't put the effort into doing the best they could in their mocks. So for them, they're just like, you know what, if I don't get the right grades, you know, then I'm gonna be deferring up, because I just don't want to be going to university with these grades I've got, you know, I mean, I might be given. So that's kind of been like sort of one of the things that some of them have been thinking in terms of, you know, next steps. But as you said, or they've been thinking about maybe retaking and doing it. So maybe that, you know, I mean, the January intake will be kind of ideal for them if they are able to kind of resit or retake it in like sort of September, October, and then kind of move on to do it, to go to uni in January. So that's kind of an option, I guess.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I think we're all quite appreciative of that January start, and it must be really hard to kind of assure students that those predicted grades are calculated, that they're secure, they're not going to be completely out of the blue. So yeah, thank you for that, Lisa. Okay, and Krishna says, particularly for widening participation students from those difficult backgrounds, it's about supporting them to make the choices that are right for them, either in January or September 2021. It's really tough. So yeah, I also a mention of clearing as well. We're expecting a lot of students to be using Clearing Plus this year, and to go through the clearing processes. But that's a whole nother topic in itself. So I'll hand back to Michelle now, if everybody's done with comments. But please, let's keep the conversation going, because I think it's something that's developing day by day. So thanks.
Thanks very much, Beth. That was real food for thought about deferrals, and I think, like you say, let's keep that conversation going. So thank you so much. Lovely. So we're going to move on now to our guest speaker, Rhoda. I'm going to attempt to give permissions to Rhoda so she can present her slides. So bear with me just one moment. Sorry guys, bear with me a second. Okay, so Rhoda, you should be able to take control now, and we'll hand over to you.
Great. Let me just have a go at sharing my screen. Let's see. Oh. Okay, can you see my screen fine? Hello?
Yep, we can see you.
Okay,
yep.
Perfect. Okay, great. I was thinking what's going on. Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having me on the virtual coffee meeting. I'm really, really excited to discuss our offer and how we can support you moving forward. I thought it would be nice just to give a brief background about me. So I'm Rhoda Quist. I have a STEM background, so bachelor's in biochemistry and recently mastered in psychology. I think someone was discussing clearing in the chat. I actually did go through clearing myself, so I'm happy to discuss that as well. So my previous experience has been based in a school as a chemistry and psychology academic mentor for Key Stage 3 to Key Stage 5. So I completely understand the situation schools are in, on top of thinking about Ofsted and learning walks, etc. So I'm one of 4 STEM ambassador coordinators. I've sort of highlighted the regions I work in. My 3 other colleagues, we all work across the 33 London boroughs. So in a nutshell, we manage the relationships between schools, colleges and employers. I mean, we do much more than that as coordinators, but I feel like that summarizes what we do really well. And I'm just really passionate about ensuring disadvantaged students have equal opportunities into the world of STEM. So that's just a brief background about me. So I work with STEM Learning. Proud to say we are the largest provider of education and career support in STEM. Our vision is to ensure that we have a world-leading STEM education for all young people across the UK. We mainly work with young people from the ages of 5 to 19. And it's mainly in a school-based setting, but we also work in our non-school groups. So that's community groups, museums, libraries, etc. So anywhere we can find young people from the ages of 5 to 19. We are a not-for-profit organisation funded by the DfE and also Wellcome Trust. And we have a unique partnership with the government, charitable trusts, employers, etc., which I'll talk about briefly. And like I mentioned, we work with schools, colleges, youth groups and community groups. So in terms of our offer, we do so much. So we're based in Bank, so we're one of 19 hubs across England. There's 18 other hubs, and in York, which is our main office, we mainly do CPD courses there, but we understand that York is is very far for our London borough schools to attend. So we also do local CPDs. We do quality assured projects, etc. And we try and make sure that our projects are focused on disadvantaged students. Depending on what the project is, we have different aims and different requirements. So I've listed some of them. Some of them are Polar Explorer, some of them are about space. We also do some STEM club projects as well. And then the main thing that I work on is the STEM Ambassador Programme, which I'll talk about briefly. So I'm sure everyone is familiar with the stats in terms of STEM in school and the fading of interest with age. So in terms of girls, so it starts off fairly equal in terms of girls and boys and their interest in science. So as you can see, I've sort of highlighted the age ranges and the years. And as the years and in terms of, so as the ages increase, the interest drops for females mainly. So I'll say it drops for both genders, but more so for females. And I think this is very important to us at STEM Learning. And we try and make sure that we work with organisations that see the importance of this stats, etc. So we work quite closely with WISE, Women in Science and Engineering. And I'm sure as teachers and careers leaders, you guys have your own opinions as to why this could be. I'll say definitely from my experience, it's been more about confidence. So not seeing yourself in roles, not seeing females in STEM related roles. In terms of, I'll say personal support. So in terms of family, there could be different reasons that attribute to that. So yeah, we're really focused on that. So we understand the importance of working with employers. Our main STEM Ambassador program is all focused on working with employers. So 4 more interactions with employers means that young people are less likely to be NEET. This is so important because it just shows how employers form that sort of like labour market experience for young people, but also giving them a sense of the world outside of the classroom. So education and employers, good careers guidance, for example, all help to push up GCSE results and improve motivation for young people. Careers and enterprise companies show that careers leaders in schools believe that the 8 Gatsby benchmarks have improved when young people have encounters with employers. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Ofsted Gatsby benchmarks that were released in 2017, and they're all around having good careers provisions in schools. And I'll say we work quite closely to Gatsby benchmark 4, which is linking, from the top of my head, linking the curriculum to careers, and Gatsby benchmark 5, which is all around employer engagement, and I think 6 is about experience of the workplace. And there's some other ones that I think we definitely sort of help to shape. So I think one of them is around, I think Gatsby benchmark 2 is around labour market experience as well. So as I mentioned, our STEM Ambassador programme fits directly into shaping a good careers programme for schools. So our STEM Ambassador programme is a volunteers programme, and we call our volunteers STEM ambassadors. They give up their time to inspire young people's curiosity and engage them in STEM. So we have a range of STEM ambassadors from different industries and different expertise. So some of them are designers, technicians, some of them are apprentices, some of them work for Public Health England, Morgan Stanley, etc. Nationally, we have about 30,000 STEM ambassadors across the UK. In London, we have approximately 2,500, and we're very proud of the demographics. We feel like it reflects London. Of course, we're always looking to increase the demographics to reflect the workplace as well. And I just thought it's key for me to highlight that our STEM Ambassador programme is completely free of charge. So that's what we pride ourselves on. And you're able to have a volunteer to support you to build that careers programme with your young people for free. So I'll say pre-pandemic, these are the types of activities our STEM ambassadors can support you with. So they can support you with more classroom-based activities. So for example, if a lot of your students want to find out about university, we can have our STEM ambassadors come in and speak about university. Or similarly, if they want to find out about apprenticeships, they can come in and speak to you about that. And I think a lot of young people are not considering the traditional entry routes into like industry. It could be apprenticeships, going to university, not going to university. And our STEM ambassadors reflect a real sort of mixture of career paths, etc. So yeah, they can do more classroom-based activities with you. They can do more STEM club activities. So let's say you want to help students boost their, let's say, their maths knowledge. You can have a STEM club set up. So this could be happening fortnightly, and they can support maybe the underachieving students, or the students that want to go from A to A star, etc. So we can do that as well. We can do career talks, so they can talk about their entry routes. And I think one thing that's really important for us is that our STEM ambassadors are transparent. So of course, we know things don't always turn out how you expect. And we think that's really, really important for young people to understand and to see. And we feel like our STEM ambassadors are really, really good at doing that. So we can offer career talks to you as well. Speed networking, so students can speak to maybe a range of engineers, because as we know, there's different types of engineers. There's civil engineers, chemical engineers, etc., mechanical. Students can have a speed networking event speaking to a range of engineers or STEM related professionals. We're trying, if I'm honest, to boost our online mentoring, and I think this pandemic is really allowing us to shape that. So if any teacher wants to help us, I'm really looking to put on some focus groups around virtual activities, virtual mentoring. I mean, we do have a lot of virtual activities going, and I'll mention that briefly. But in terms of online mentoring, that's something we're looking to start. Site visits and hosting work experience. We have had Public Health England, Morgan Stanley host work experience. I mean, some employers are less reluctant to do that simply because of all the sign-offs that schools need to have, and I think sometimes it's quite daunting, but that is something that we're able to do and we are looking to push out. We also do large science festivals. I'm not sure if anyone knows about the Big Bang Fair that we've done. So we have that, which is a really, really good day for students as well to attend. And also, like I briefly mentioned, we work with non-school groups, so working with libraries, working with local communities as well. I thought it'd be nice just to show you 4 of our STEM ambassadors. I mean, like I mentioned, we have about 2,500 in London, but I just thought it's important to show the demographic, the different roles. We have some that are still students, we have some that work in space, we have apprentices as well. So for example, Tom, I work quite closely to him, and he works at BT Tower, and his academic history is very, very interesting because he went on to do sports science, I believe, at university, and then decided to do an apprenticeship. And we are actually thinking of hosting a virtual event called Myth Busting Apprenticeships, just for students and careers leaders and teachers, just to hear about the different apprenticeships, etc. I didn't even know there's loads of different types of apprenticeships. Some you can still go to university whilst still being an apprentice, so joint apprenticeships, and some of them you don't go to university, etc. And yeah, they're all really, really keen to engage with students and teachers. So we have got a lot of virtual activities at the moment. And I'm not sure if anyone follows us on Twitter, STEM London Hub. Some of these ambassadors, so Bianca and Mimi, they've done a Twitter Q&A with us where they talk about their career history, and we ask them about what subjects do they pick at A-level, or do they pick A-levels, etc. I just thought it'd be nice just to give you a snapshot of some of the employers we work with. For example, BT, like I mentioned, we're planning an event. Public Health England, they've just come on board as STEM ambassadors fairly recently. Science Museum, we do a lot of events with them about public engagement, because a lot of our STEM ambassadors don't have experience with working with young people. Most of them can just provide their personal experience in terms of their academic history, etc. But we help them devise activities to support young people. I've recently brought Facebook on board, who have started a mentoring program with some of their schools in Camden. We did an event with Philip 66, which is a energy company, and they did a event with a school in North London, Hornsey School, where they did half a day of sustainable energy and what the future is looking like, etc. Also, we've recently launched our podcast, which is on Spotify, Apple, etc., where we're interviewing some of our STEM ambassadors, talking about their history, how they got into their role, etc., but also misconceptions around their role. And like I mentioned, I think it's really important that young people see that transparent side and not just see because some people see STEM professionals and think that they had a really good or really easy career path, and we're all about breaking down myths and misconceptions as well around that. So in terms of impact on young people, we're so proud of the benefits our STEM ambassadors bring to young people. For example, 90% of young people feel more engaged with STEM or have improved their awareness of STEM, etc. And like I mentioned, I think having a STEM background myself, it's really opened so many opportunities for me. So, for example, you don't directly need to work in STEM, but the transferable skills you gain from having a STEM background, I think, shapes you for the future. And as we know, there's going to be a lot of new jobs that aren't around now that young people will be going into. And I feel like definitely having a mixture of good soft skills, good hard skills are really, really important to prepare the young people for, I would say, just a wealth of new careers that we're not even aware of. And our STEM ambassadors do just that. So soft skills are all around what makes you a good employee. So that's around like hardworking, good communication, etc. And a lot of employers we work with actually really emphasize on the importance of soft skills more so than hard skills, which are more the teachable skills such as coding, etc., more technical based skills. And our STEM ambassadors really, really emphasize on the importance of soft skills and help young people to see the fact that you already have soft skills. It's just about developing that. So how to request a STEM ambassador. So I've put our website there. It's fairly easy. You just register as a teacher or educator on our website. Once you've registered on our website, you're then able to advertise an activity. So let's say right now, you might want some of our STEM ambassadors to talk about clearing, for example. You can advertise this as an activity on our website. Just write a short description. So the aims of your activity, how long you would need a STEM ambassador for. It's almost like really selling your activity to make it really appealing to our STEM ambassadors. At any one time, we have about 17,000 activities on our website. So we're really, really keen in making sure that activities look fun, exciting headings, etc. And us as coordinators can support you in making sure that you write a really good description. We've also got a new feature that is recently launched, the offer feature, where STEM ambassadors can now offer their services to you, because previously it was a one-way system where teachers or educators they add activities onto our website. And that was the only functionality we have. But now we have a dual functionality where STEM ambassadors can now offer their experience to you, and you can browse that yourself. And I've included a link to our handbook. We've recently launched our handbook, I think last week, for teachers, non-school groups, etc., which summarizes everything I've gone through, but also gives you some really, really good tips and template descriptions for your activity. And like I mentioned, us as coordinators are able to edit activities for you and help you with descriptions, etc. So really briefly, remote CPD courses for teachers. So this is also something that we do. We've developed a series of CPD courses for teachers around STEM subjects, which cover a range of sectors. So each course is led by one of our accredited subject specialist facilitators, and they deliver remote short live sessions for you. And in between all these sessions, you'll be able to complete tasks, you'll be able to communicate with other professionals that are sitting in as well. And I've actually sat on a CPD course myself, just so I can see what it's like when I'm speaking to teachers. And it's just very comprehensive. You get to interact with other participants, you get to ask questions, you also earn a STEM certificate. I've sort of just included a snapshot of 3 remote activities currently going on. So it's all about gaining confidence to really deliver the curriculum to young people. We have some courses around the fact that you may not necessarily have a STEM background, but you're now teaching, let's say, science. So we try and provide you the confidence to do that, etc. So I've also included the link there. There's loads of activities currently going on, and I thought it was important to mention that our courses are fully funded to participants from maintained schools in England, and if you are an independent school, I think there is a charge for you. If so, you can browse the link and sign up to any courses once you are registered on our website. If you do need more guidance, I'm able to pass you over to your necessary contact as well for that. We've also got computing courses. So the NCCE program has recently launched for Teach Computing. So I'm not sure if there's any computing teachers, etc. And the same thing applies. We have some fully funded courses for you to attend. And I think we're really grateful for the fact that some courses right now, of course, there's no geographical restriction for you to attend because it's all remote. So there's a range of courses you can access right now, which are led by different subject experts. Sorry. So if you want further details on that you don't find on the website, please do let me know. And in terms of how we can support you, like I mentioned briefly, we've recently launched our STEM Sessions podcast, which is a careers podcast. We interview a range of people, engineers, apprentices, etc. And they're literally having conversations with us as coordinators, talking about misconceptions around their role, how they got into that role, etc. I've also included the link there for you to watch that. We've had 1,000 downloads, I believe, and played in 99 countries. So that's really great for us. We've also recently launched our Catalyst magazine, which is a free online magazine for young people to find out about STEM careers and just research currently going on. And we're always looking for our STEM ambassadors to add to that as well. Also, in terms of our website, especially during this time and during this pandemic, we've launched a lot of resources to support home learning for parents and carers, but also home teaching resources for teachers and careers leads as well, which we regularly update weekly. So there's free resources there. There's also professional development opportunities, and I think this is really good for teachers and for careers leads if you have time to engage in. And there's a lot of courses by Future Learn that we've put on that you can engage in right now as well. I've also included the links there as well. And also the links for you to share with parents and carers as to how we can support them. So a lot of the resources are, so we have primary, secondary resources, and we split it by age range and different subjects, etc. And we're always looking for feedback, honest feedback about how you find our resources. So yeah, let us know. I thought it would be nice just to let you know about an upcoming event we have with Just Eat, some of our STEM ambassadors there. One of my colleagues is sitting in on this, but this is all around the different STEM careers at Just Eat. And they've got such interesting titles for them. The first one is called Feeling the Heat. And this is about coping with pressure and tips to tackle it. 16th of June, 4 to 5. Bring Home the Bacon, so careers in tech, 23rd June. And being a smart cookie, so how to be decisive and confident, etc. So the sessions will be live streamed via YouTube, then uploaded onto Just Eat's YouTube channel afterwards. I've included the link there. It's a free event. Please do attend, send out to students. I think for us, we don't have direct contact with students, and it's all up to our teachers and careers leads we engage with to share the activities that we're doing, but also to give us feedback on what they would want, because you're having direct conversations with young people, and we want to make sure that the events we put on are actually worthwhile. And I think especially from listening in to some of the chats and like seeing some of the issues around deferrals, etc. I'm now going to speak to my colleagues about what we can do around that, and if there's any STEM ambassadors that have gone through that process, perhaps we can do an event on that. So we're really trying to make sure that everything we put on is efficient. And yeah, I've just put contact details for coordinators. We all manage different regions, so I thought it's very important to put that on for you, so you can reach out to your necessary coordinator. By all means, feel free to reach out to me, and I can put you directly in contact with my team. I think that's it from me for now. In terms of, I'll say, virtual activities, right now I'm currently speaking to ATOS, which is like a technical company, Morgan Stanley, who are all really, really keen on putting on virtual mentoring sessions. I've been in contact with the apprentices at ATOS right now, who have actually just sent me short 2-minute videos on their entry route into doing the apprenticeship. So I'm just going to have a look at those and share accordingly. We've also had our STEM ambassadors fill in virtual career templates, because this was a request that a teacher put up on our platform, and the STEM ambassador just filled in questions around what their job consists of, their soft skills used in their job, did they always know they'll be in their job, what was their first job, if they're happy to disclose what is their band, like with salary, etc. What did they wish they knew when they were much younger, etc. So those are career profiles that we've created. However, right now I'm just trying to make sure that they're actually efficient for teachers and careers leads. So if anyone wants to discuss with me, or we can create focus groups around what you would like, etc. Yeah, we're happy to support you in any way, but also we're really, really keen to have more ideas, because like I said, you're speaking to the students, so any ideas you have on activities, etc., or how we can engage them more, or what they want right now, we're really, really keen to do that, because of course it's an uncertain time. And I'm also really interested in mental health and well-being, so if there's anything I can put on for students, I've put on workshops around cognitive load and revision, etc. I know that may not be suitable now, especially during this time, but it's just to mention that if any teacher or careers lead is interested in that, that's something I'm interested in as well. So feel free to contact me. I think that's it from me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rhoda. That was a lot. So it's great to see. It's great to see how you're adapting your offer to still be, you know, really supportive to lots of young people. We will share all of those links, all those resources. I think the podcast sounds fantastic as something that careers leaders can just send to those students that are interested in STEM subjects to follow up in their spare time. So they all sound brilliant. So thank you so much. We've probably got maybe 2 minutes for questions, and then we're going to do a very quick update as well from Access HE. So does anyone on the call have any questions for Rhoda and anything that was in the presentation? I think it was that informative, Rhoda. You covered everything. So thank you so much. That was very, very helpful. And like I say, we'll share your contact details and everything with everyone on the call. So thank you so much. Okay, so we are going to just talk through some of what we've got planned over the summer. Rhoda, if I could ask, just on your setting, if you could give back control to me so I can share my screen. If that's okay. So I think if you stop sharing and then give back, I think it's give back control.
Yeah, okay, I've stopped sharing, give back control. Advanced. I'm not sure where to give back the control.
Okay, no problem. we might just talk through our what we've got on offer, if that's okay, just in the interest of time, but not to worry. So yes, so it's going to be myself, Beth and Jerry from Access HE, just talking very briefly about our summer activities that we've got planned for students and for teachers. And we've been very busy trying to adapt and ensure that we're still supporting all of our schools' networks and students. So first step, we are launching, and I'm going to hand over to Beth in a second, to talk about our Teachers and Careers Advisor Survey. So that's the first thing on our list.
Thanks, Michelle. Yes, just very briefly, we've launched a back to school survey, and this is entirely for teachers and advisors to fill out. For those of you who are aware of UniConnect, I don't need to explain, but for those of you who might want a bit more information about what Geraldine, I and Michelle do, we really connect careers advisors and their needs to higher education stakeholders. We communicate these needs and provide sort of information and advice events, but also think more innovatively. I think now is the time to think even more innovatively about how we can best support you and your students. So the back to school survey will take you 5 minutes, and it will really inform how we communicate your needs to higher education stakeholders going forwards. So the events and the outreach opportunities available to your school and your students can be as up to date and as relevant as possible. So after this meeting, please take 5 minutes to fill it out, and it will inform our work and your students' support for many weeks and months to come. So I think that was a good enough sell. So please all do it. Lisa, I know you have, so don't worry, I'll let you off. But everybody else at the next coffee morning, I'll also be plugging this again. So that I can stop nagging you, please fill it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beth. Well plugged. Great. So the next thing we're going to talk about briefly is a CPD conference for teachers and careers advisors. So this is happening on the 22nd of June, so just in a few weeks' time, actually. So we're hosting this in partnership with Aim Higher, who sort of support state secondary schools south of the river, and we sort of support state secondary schools north of the river. So we have lots of speakers from our member universities and from the Careers and Enterprise Company, and they're going to be talking about sort of innovation within careers, with a bit of a response to the impact that it's going to have on that COVID's going to have on students at the moment, but thinking how schools can adapt to that over the coming months. So it's online, it's a virtual event, and it's 2 hours, and like I say, we've got a real range. I think there's around 7 or 8 workshops in total, so it should be a really useful event for careers leads. So we'll share that as well. I can see that Jerry shared it in the chat, which is fab. So that's a whistle-stop tour of the CPD conference that we have coming up. Next on the list we have, bear with me just 1 second, I think. We are going to talk about our student advocate programme. So I'm going to hand over to Jerry.
Hi everyone. I'd like to echo what Beth said, because we wouldn't necessarily have this plan without thanking all of you for meeting us in person over these last few couple of months, or talking on the phone, or now virtually on these coffee mornings. And one of the themes that we came across was the issue of supply and demand, and also perhaps not enabling students to visit campuses, but maybe wanting things delivered in school or virtually now, as we know. So what we proposed is Access HE Student Advocates. What that means is we will have our bank of experienced student ambassadors who are already highly skilled when it comes to talking to prospective students about what it's like to study at higher education level. And they'll be from our member universities and higher education providers in and around London. And hopefully that will enable us to showcase the richness and diversity of higher education study options, whether that be from apprenticeships or whether that is from particular subjects. We want to enable and harness those skills so that we can actually do more with the UniConnect programme and deliver to you people who rightfully know their experiences. Hopefully we'll be able to use them via online outreach like this, through webinars, talking to your students, or also some of you may have already seen our Degree Apprenticeship Live event, which was live streamed through YouTube. We'd also like to create some resources which can be used in your own time. So whether that is videos or case studies that can be given to students showing this experience. Hopefully this idea will bring more control to careers leaders in having student ambassadors talking to them and develop what they want within the careers frameworks and meeting Gatsby benchmarks. So yeah, hopefully this will be a great asset to you.
And next up, it's you again, Jerry. I'm afraid.
Me again.
Just to talk a little bit about the London Careers Fair that's happening.
And so those student advocates hopefully will be involved in this event, which is the virtual London Careers Festival. Some of you may have already been to the London Careers Festival. If you haven't, it's hosted by the City of London, and this is delivered in the summertime. This year it's going to be the 29th of June to the 3rd of July. However, of course, it's going to have to be delivered virtually. I think last year they had over 120 organisations and around 5,000 students attend. And I believe they're able to captivate this audience because the Careers Festival not only engages businesses and organisations, but exactly the intel and knowledge from employers. What we were hoping to do is also partake in this activity on this day. I don't know what I'm hoping, we are going to, and we will be delivering some webinars. The London Careers Virtual Festival will also have talks and tours, careers resources, and also links. So again, allowing you to take control of some of the resources and deliver them how you want to if your students can't attend these webinars. These webinars, similar to what I spoke about before, will be delivered in collaboration with our higher education providers, connecting the idea that through careers, you may want to take your pathway to higher education. And so we'll be showcasing the idea that higher education can deliver on soft skills, which are beneficial to your careers, but also focus on specific subject tastes as well. So we hope that you'll be able to join us on these webinars, which we will be streaming live on YouTube again.
Thank you. And we've just got one final update. Like I say, it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of what we've got planned for the coming months. One activity that we're also hosting on the 16th of July is a virtual event for looked after children. So we know that looked after children are a group that have been particularly impacted by COVID in terms of them not receiving the same support and accessing outreach programs that they otherwise would have done. So we're hosting a virtual sort of information day for them, which will be hosted by, and we've got 7 or 8 different universities involved. So that will include sort of subject tasters, a bit of a lecture taster on what it's like to be in a lecture, the specific student finance that looked after children are entitled to, as well as the application support and support around like the UCAS care experience tick box, all that kind of stuff. So that will be on the 16th of July. You don't need to remember all these dates and everything that we've talked about. We will share this in our comms and in our newsletters coming up, so please do look out for those. In terms of the Looked After Children event, we will be advertising this with virtual schools, but for any schools that have looked after children that attend your school, please do get in touch and we can share this with you as well, so that we're able to reach those students. And that's kind of it. We're 6 minutes over, so I'll just leave a moment if anyone has any questions about anything that's been discussed today at all, and then I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day if there are no questions. Okay. Oh yes, hi Juliet.
Hi, just a quick one. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the universities possibly, but a university of East London has provided us with home packs, which they have sent into the school, so we can send them out specifically to students who don't have ready access to online. Because we've noticed, certainly our tutors have noticed, that some of our most disadvantaged students are in homes where there's just one laptop, parents are using it, siblings are using it. So these home packs, I don't know if this is something that other universities might like to copy.
Yeah, we had Sophia from UEL on a recent coffee morning, and she was talking about those, and they sound brilliant. And I know that they've worked incredibly hard to get those packs out to schools sort of this week, so they sound brilliant. Are there any universities on the call that are considering doing a similar thing with sort of hard resources and paper resources to send out to students?
Speaking on behalf of UWR, at the moment, that's not something we've heard from a lot of the schools that we work with. So essentially the outreach model that we're working on at the moment is based on what schools are telling us. I'll feed back to the rest of the team that some institutions are doing this, but from a completely practical way, I'm not allowed to access to our campus. So we don't have a physical means of getting onto campus. We need, I think it's 3 senior people who need access to campus, so they have written permission to go onto that. So we don't have a practical way of doing it. But what I would say is there's some really nice examples nationally of institutions doing this stuff. So the University of Lancaster, or Lancaster University, they're doing some really amazing stuff. So I definitely check them out because they do all have Southern representatives. So I would look at those and just ask the institutions. I'll definitely take it back to our team. But in terms of just physically getting out there, we wouldn't have a means to do that. I know like City University London are sending packs out and are also setting up kind of food bank provisions for primary and secondary schools that they work with. So there is some pockets of more innovative practice. Unfortunately, we're not part of that at the moment. That may change.
Thank you very much, Krishna. Yeah, we'll have a look at those institutions and share details of that as well. I know it's really tricky, and I think UEL have, like you say, found it quite difficult to access campus and access printers and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a really useful resource, and we'll do a bit of research to see if there are any other institutions and share that within our newsletter as well. Great. Any other questions at all? Lovely.
Whilst I'm here.
Yeah, hi Julia.
Sorry, me again.
Okay.
Whilst I'm here, I've shared some anti-racist resources with my school and a couple of charities that I'm involved with, and with the Learning Trust. I know Joe's on here somewhere. And if it's at all useful, I could share those with you as well.
Yes, please. They sound fantastic. Please do send them over to us, and again, we can pop that in our newsletter and promote that. That sounds really helpful. Thank you. Lovely.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much to Beth today for your update on deferrals. Let's keep that conversation going. I think it's going to change lots over the next few weeks, so let's keep an eye on that. And thank you very much to Rhoda for your presentation today. And yes, have a very good rest of the day. Our next coffee morning will be in 2 weeks, and we'll circulate the details of that shortly. But thank you very much to everyone today.
Thank you.
Have good weekends, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye, thank you.